They told everyone I gave up, said I quit something big to chase something small. They stopped asking questions. They started telling my story for me, but the truth was never loud. It was just waiting for the right moment to speak. In quiet strength and stories that grow slowly but strike deep, subscribe to the channel because sometimes the most powerful journeys are the ones no one saw coming. My name is Olivia Reed. I'm 31 years old. I live in a small apartment above a bookstore in Seattle. I make my own coffee. I pay my own bills. And apparently, I'm still the family disappointment. I was supposed to be a doctor, the smart one, the overachiever, the golden child, at least until I wasn't. I dropped out of med school in my second year. It wasn't drugs or drama or scandal, just burnout, pure and simple. It's the kind that hollowed me out from the inside. It's the kind no one noticed. Because I still smiled at Christmas dinner. When I left, my father didn't speak to me for months. My mother cried into a napkin and told everyone I was taking a break. My younger brother Ryan moved on and quietly became the new pride of the family finance degree. Corner office, fiancé, from a nice family, the whole package. And me, I started teaching tech basics to senior citizens in my neighborhood, for cash, for sanity, for something to do with my days. At first, it felt like failure. Then it started to feel like purpose. What began as one-on-one lessons in coffee shops turned into group classes at the library, then webinars, then a prototype for an online platform. I called it Elderbright. Simple mission. Helped people over 60 stay connected in a digital world that keeps trying to leave them behind. Taught email, video calls, online banking, digital safety, even how to spot fake news before it spreads to every ant on Facebook. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't a unicorn startup, but it was working. That week, I did a video call with a woman named Mrs. Given, 83 years old, 2 hip replacements, and enough sass to power a sitcom. It took us 40 minutes to set up her Zoom mic. She called me darling and muttered, "This machine hates me." When it finally worked and she saw her son's face on screen, a man who lived 3 states away, she gasped, hand over her mouth, and whispered, "You brought my baby into my living room." Moments like that don't make headlines, but they change lives. And that's what I built Elderbright for. Within 3 years, we had over 80,000 active users, several state-level partnerships, and a backlog of nonprofits begging us to expand into their communities. We were changing lives, one patient tutorial at a time. To my family, I was doing some kind of online teaching thing. They never asked how it was going. They never once said they were proud. In their eyes, I had stepped off the golden path and wandered into the woods. It didn't matter that I'd built the path myself and lit the damn way for others to follow. Last month, at Sunday dinner, my mother served roast beef and casually said to Ryan's fiancée, "Ryan's always been the focused one. Olivia, ... well, she's more of a free spirit." I smiled politely. Cut my carrots. Didn't say a word because that's what disappointments do. We stay quiet. We stay polite. We stay invisible. But something was about to change. And it would all begin with a name I hadn't heard in years, spoken by someone who had no idea who I really was. Not yet. The irony was always sharp. I could build a platform for thousands of strangers to feel seen. But I couldn't get my own family to ask me a single real question. At Elderbright, we were in the middle of a major update, revamping our onboarding experience to make it even simpler for older users who'd never touched a keyboard. I just finished a user test with a 76-year-old man who cried when he managed to FaceTime his granddaughter for the first time. He kept saying, "She thought I was gone. Now she can see I'm still here." That moment lit me up more than any funding announcement ever had. But when I mentioned it at a family dinner the week after, my dad just grunted, teaching old folks to click buttons. Real noble work. Ryan chuckled under his breath. I let it slide. They didn't know that clicking buttons had turned into a full stack educational platform built on adaptive UX principles and a custom accessibility framework designed to work seamlessly with screen readers, motor skill tracking, and voice command optimization. They didn't know that our monthly newsletter had a 78% open rate, that we were being piloted in 3 state-run community centers, that my little project was changing more lives in a week than most of their boardroom meetings did in a year. Because I never told them. Because when someone hands you a label like failure, you either fight to tear it off, or you wear it quietly while building something too large for them to ignore. 2 weeks before Ryan's engagement party, my inbox pinged. Subject line, Amanda C. testimonial submission. Amanda, that was Ryan's fiancée. I clicked. It was a video, 90 seconds long, submitted through our Stories That Shine campaign, where users or their family members could share the impact of Elderbright. In it, Amanda sat in a softly lit living room, holding the hand of a smiling older woman. "This is my Grandma Margaret," she said. "She lost my grandpa last spring, and it was a really lonely time for her. But thanks to Elderbright, she was able to stay in touch with all of us, video call every week, even learn how to use online grocery apps. It gave her back some confidence, and it gave us her... I froze. Amanda didn't know who I was, didn't connect the name. She just knew Elderbright helped her family. I watched the video twice, then a third time. Her grandmother looked directly into the camera at the end and said, "Thank you, Olivia. You helped me feel human again." That night, my mom called. "Don't. Forget the engagement dinner is Saturday. We want everything perfect." "I wasn't sure if I should come," I said. "Why wouldn't you?" she asked, though the question came out too quickly. "Because I'm not sure I belong." A beat of silence. "They just don't talk about your website thing too much, okay?" Amanda's family is very professional Ivy League types. I nearly laughed. "Got it," I said. No mention of buttons. She didn't get the sarcasm. I hung up and stared out the window of my apartment, watching Seattle's lights blink in the rain. My mother had no idea that her son's fiancé had thanked me publicly, emotionally, forgiving. Her grandmother, a way to feel connected again. I had no intention of saying a word about it. Not yet, because sometimes it's better to let the truth introduce itself. The week of the engagement party, I didn't touch the RSVP card. I knew. They expected me to show up, smile politely, and stay in the corner like a faded photograph. Still there, but easy to overlook. I told myself I'd go for Amanda, for the grandmother who said I made her feel human again, not for my family. At a cousin's barbecue a week before the party, someone asked me, "So, still doing your little internet thing?" I smiled, nodded, bit. My tongue, my mom, standing right there, didn't correct them. Didn't say I had staff or users or grants. She just offered them more potato salad, and I stood there holding a paper plate, pretending I wasn't shrinking. Never again for them. At the office, we were finalizing a partnership with the Washington State Library System, Elderbright would be piloted in 12 rural branches, places where seniors had more goats than broadband. It was real, impactful work. Meanwhile, at home, my mother was choosing napkin colors and emailing me photo references for appropriate dresses with the note: "No black, no pantsuits." Something feminine this time. I stared at the message like it had teeth. My mother loved control, especially over women who refused to be controlled. Friday, the day before the party, I stopped by a local coffee shop to meet our newest intern, a young coder named Jamie. She was 19, brilliant, and full of questions about UX for aging populations. While we chatted, a woman from the next table leaned over and said, "I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you Olivia Reed? From Elderbright?" I blinked. "Yes." "Oh my gosh," she said, smiling. "My dad's been using your platform for months." Memes now, memes. I didn't even know he knew what a meme was. Jamie looked at me like I'd just grown a cape. "You didn't tell me people recognize you. They usually don't," I said. But the truth was, it was starting. More emails, more testimonials, a podcast invite, a quiet buzz outside my family's narrow lens. I wasn't invisible. I was rising. That night I couldn't sleep. Kept replaying Amanda's video in my head, the way she looked at her grandmother. The sincerity in her voice. She didn't know me, not personally, but she had trusted something I built, something born out of pain and failure and reinvention. And that trust, it was pure, earned, undeniable, unlike the love I kept trying to earn from people who refused to see me. At 3 a.m., I got up and pulled out a dress. Not black, not a pantsuit. A dark emerald green, sleeveless, clean lines, elegant and simple mine. I packed Amanda's testimonial video on a USB drive, not to show, just to carry. A quiet reminder that sometimes the waves we create go farther than we ever imagined, reaching people we've never met and pulling back the ones who thought we'd disappeared. The restaurant was glass and gold, the kind of place where the lighting was dim on purpose, and the bread came with truffle butter. I arrived 10 minutes early. I always do. My mother looked surprised when she saw me. "Oh, you came? You asked me to?" I said simply. "Well, I'm glad." She wasn't. I could see it in her eyes, the tight smile, the glance at my dress like it was one shade too bold, 1 inch too defiant. I took my seat near the end of the table, far enough to be out of focus, just how they liked it. Ryan and Amanda arrived 15 minutes later, beaming radiant. Amanda hugged everyone, including me. She didn't say much, didn't recognize me yet. Not like that. The evening wore on with speeches and champagne toasts. Ryan's boss stood up to say something that sounded expensive. Amanda's father spoke about legacy and loyalty. I just nodded along, invisible again until dessert, till Amanda leaned over. Casually, eyes narrowed in curiosity. "I've been meaning to ask, Olivia, what do you do again?" The room went quiet around the edges. My mother stiffened. I took a sip of water. "I run a platform for digital literacy for older adults." "Wait, like online classes? Or like adaptive systems for long-term engagement?" "Specialize in accessibility. Text-to-speech, screen readers, large print navigation, speech input." Amanda blinked. "What's it called, Elderbright?" She stared at me, eyes wide. No way. You're Elderbright." I gave a slight nod. "I founded it." Her hand covered her mouth. She looked at Ryan, then back at me. "You're the Olivia Reed, as in the founder, the face of Elderbright's Stories That Shine campaign." Now the room wasn't just listening, it had stopped breathing. My mother's fork paused midair. My grandma Margaret, she used Elderbright every day until she passed. "You helped her video call our family every Sunday. You gave us more time with her." "I submitted a video to your campaign." I smiled gently. "I know. I saw it. It meant a lot." Amanda stood up. "Why didn't you say anything?" I shrugged. Wasn't the right time. She turned to the table. "I don't think you all understand.
Yes.
This woman built a national program from scratch. She's been featured on NPR and Forbes. She's changing lives," Aunt Linda gasped. Uncle Joe cleared his throat. My father looked down at his wine. My mother opened her mouth, closed it again. Amanda kept going. I can't believe I'm meeting you. You helped my family. My grandma never called herself smart until she used your site." She sat slowly, still looking stunned. Ryan leaned toward me. I didn't know." "You never asked," I said, voice calm. Silence again, but this time it wasn't cold. It was awe, and the rest of the night passed in a strange new light. People began to whisper, not behind my back, but toward me. Toasts suddenly included Olivia's impressive work. My mother sat stiff and quiet, as if recalibrating the narrative in real time. And for the first time in a very long while, I didn't feel like the footnote. I felt like the headline. It's not because I demanded it, not because I interrupted, but because the truth walked into the room on its own and refused to stay quiet. Next morning, I woke up with a strange quiet in my chest. It wasn't pride. It wasn't revenge. It was something deeper, like the sound of a door finally closing without a slam. My phone buzzed. A message from Ryan. "I'm sorry I never asked." Simple. No excuses. No emojis. I stared at it for a while, then turned the screen face down. Later, that afternoon, my mom called twice. I didn't answer, not out of spite. I just didn't know what she'd say, and I didn't want to give her the chance to make it smaller than it was. Not this time. That night I took a walk down to the pier. The air was crisp, laced with salt and pine, and the world felt suspended. Like something had cracked open quietly, and the light was still deciding how far to reach. I thought of Amanda's face when she made the connection, not just recognition, but reverence. Not for fame, but for impact, for meaning. And I thought about all the years I spent shrinking because I believed their silence meant I wasn't enough. But now I knew better. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Real paper, handwritten, from my mother. Dear Olivia, I watched the video Amanda sent me. I cried. Not because I didn't know what you'd built, but because I realized I never bothered to ask. I was so focused on what you walked away from that I never looked at what you were walking toward. You did what no one in this family ever had the courage to do. You failed and kept going. And in doing that, you taught people how to find their voice again, including me. Love, Mom. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it slowly and placed it beside my desk. Not framed, not displayed, just kept because this time I didn't need to hang proof on the wall. I was living it every day. That weekend, I gave a keynote at a community tech conference. There were no cameras, no national press, just 60 people in a rec center auditorium, most of them holding notebooks and hope. I told them the truth. I was never supposed to be here. I was supposed to be someone else, but life had other plans, and I stopped arguing with them. When the room stood to applaud, I didn't cry, but I did smile. Not the polite kind, the kind that reaches your spine, the kind that says, I made it and I didn't need permission. 3 months later, Amanda asked me to lunch. Not as Ryan's sister. As Olivia, the founder, the woman who built something from the ashes and dared to call it beautiful. We met at a sunlit cafe in Capitol Hill. She was already seated, smiling, a notebook half open beside her coffee. I've been thinking, she said. There's a foundation I volunteer with. They fund social impact startups, especially those led by women. I showed them your work. She slid the notebook toward me. Inside, notes, numbers, potential connections. If you're ready to scale, I think we can help. I didn't blink. Owe me anything. She shook her head. This isn't about debt. It's about belief. You gave something to my grandmother I never could. I just want to see where else your light can reach. And for once, I let someone believe in me without flinching. That summer, Elderbright launched its first nationwide campaign. We called it Digital Dignity. Workshops in public libraries, training hubs in community centers, free programs for veterans and underserved seniors. We hit 250,000 users. Got an email from a 92-year-old in Montana. Your platform helped me apply for a passport online. I'm flying to see my great-granddaughter next month. I've never flown before. Thank you for giving me that first step. I sat with that message for a long time, not as validation, but as a reminder. Every quiet effort matters. At Ryan and Amanda's wedding, I wore a navy jumpsuit. No one blinked. My mother introduced me to her friends as my daughter, Olivia. She runs a national nonprofit. The label wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Later, she pulled me aside, holding a glass of white wine in emotion. You always walked your own way, she said. I used to think that meant you were lost. Now I see you were just walking ahead. We didn't hug, but we stood beside each other longer than we ever had, and that felt like enough. That night I stood under a canopy of fairy lights, watching people dance. Ryan walked over, hands in his pockets, a little nervous. Amanda tells me you've been invited to speak at Google. That true? Next month. You going to brag about being my sister? I laughed. You going to brag about being mine? He grinned, and just like that, the past loosened its grip. 2 weeks after the wedding, I sent Ryan and Amanda a small package. Inside was a handwritten note and a USB drive. On the drive was a custom-built version of Elderbright, personalized for the assisted living facility where Amanda's grandmother had spent her final years. Lifetime access. No fees. Full tech support. I didn't tell anyone. There was no press release, no credit, just a simple note that said, some connections outlive misunderstanding. Thank you for helping mine find her voice. Amanda called me the... Next morning, she didn't speak right away. I just breathed through the tears.